What makes Nintendo great, or what made Nintendo great, was their games were easy to pick up but impossible to master. Over time, you'll understand the hidden mechanics and be blasting, drifting, and not slipping over bananas. Sometimes. That being said, let's power up the game. On one player, you can play Mario Grand Prix or Time Trials. Grand Prix is where you race with every other player in the game. Time Trials is where you play alone. Grand Prix is more chaotic. Time Trials is where you set records. Grand Prix doesn't hold on to your records, which is unfortunate, but whatever, this is a 90s game. 2-player can play Grand Prix versus or battle mode. 3-player can play versus or battle mode. I figure this is because the N64 couldn't handle 3 players and all the other characters racing at once. 4-player has the same options as 3-player. Moving on. Choose a mode and select your character. First off, these characters are diverse. Big guys have low acceleration, but their top speed is insane. Little guys are the opposite. They have high acceleration, they have smooth turning, but their top speed isn't great. Plus, if you get rammed, you can spin out. When that happens, you feel like such a victim. The middleweights are pretty useless. Yoshi is a community favorite. I had a Yoshi doll as a kid, and I held onto it like crazy even if I dropped it in the toilet, so I agree. Yoshi is good. He's fast as Toad, but he's a little heavier, so there's slightly less chance of spinning out when rammed by big players. Honestly though, you have to play around with these characters and decide for yourself. If I had to choose one, it'd be Bowser. He's got insane top speed, and he bulldozes everything like a Brazilian cattle farmer. As you play, you pick up items that can help you get ahead. Item design is to make sure every player always has a chance to win. There's 20 items in the game. Each item serves a unique purpose, but at the same time, they can be used in different ways. The first time you play, you'll probably think green shells are useless cannons with bad aim, but then you realize they make great shields and can pummel tailgaters. I wish I had these in real life. It's the same with bananas. You can place them down like mines, or you can hold them behind you as a shield. Push the joystick forward and they launch like a mortar. It's amazing that such an old game offered diverse gameplay with each weapon. Red shells follow opponents, but they also break against walls. Green shells only go straight, but they bounce off walls. Mushrooms give you a boost. Combine mushrooms with a drift boost and you get a double boost. My favorite has to be fake item boxes. They're just cruel. They look like regular item boxes, but they'll explode if you touch them. You can place these by other item boxes and no one can tell the difference. Just like bananas and shells, you can also use them as shields. There's just enough items to keep the game fresh, so experiment with all of them. It's too bad they don't have an item switch like Smash Brothers. I think it would have been fun to have the option to play this game without items, but remember, N64 is like visiting Alaska. You need to be grateful for what you have. If you're playing alone, Grand Prix is the main game. If you're having a party, it's all about versus. There's 4 different races in Grand Prix: Mushroom Cup, Flower, Star, and Special. The levels in Mario Kart 64 range from tests of speed to tests of survival. Luigi's Raceway is straight out of NASCAR, so to win you just need to drift and boost as much as possible. But Bowser's Castle is full of whumps and lava, and sometimes just making it through a lap is good enough to keep you in first. I hate Bowser's Castle. No 2 tracks are alike. There's jumps, turns for drifting, and shortcuts. We'll talk about that in a sec. A track that deserves mentioning is Yoshi's Valley. It's a mountain speedway with multiple routes. Each way has a different challenge. One way might be covered with porcupines that make you spin out, but it'll also be the fastest. Another might be easy, but take longer. The choice is yours. It's also the only track that doesn't tell you who's in first until the race is over, so you're kept guessing till the end. To win gold in Grand Prix, you need the highest score. Getting a first gets 9 points. Getting second gets 6. Getting third gets 3. Getting fourth gets 1. In each cup, you'll race 4 maps. It's a nice system because if you get 3 first, but then get screwed on a jump, then you still win gold because your score was higher. You want to get first as much as possible. Once you learn drifting and get comfortable with a character, it's not hard. At the end of each Grand Prix, you watch a cutscene where a giant fish presents your trophy in front of Peach's castle. It's heartwarming, but the game doesn't save your Grand Prix times, only your time trial times. So the whole ceremony kind of feels wasted. It's like Here's a trophy and we're erasing your records. No one will ever know how you did. But once again, it's N64. I'm just grateful. One thing that's kind of dumb about Grand Prix is that if you end up tied with another player, the first player or human player automatically gets gold. This is great if you're playing alone and just want gold in every race, but you gotta admit it's unfair. Anyway, that's Mario Grand Prix. With multiple players, you can play Versus. It's classic split-screen gaming. I don't have friends, so we're not getting into that. What makes this game worth playing after all these years is simple. I find Mario Kart 64 doesn't stand out from maps, items, characters, or NPCs. What makes Mario Kart 64 great is mechanics. At the beginning of each race, there's a countdown. If you punch the gas at the exact right time, you get a boost. I'm not going to say when to punch, though, because learning is part of the fun. There is one mechanic that stands out above the rest, and that's drifting. If you're heading for a corner, tap right bumper. You'll hop. Here, if you turn left or right, you'll enter a drift. Move the joystick back and forth 3 times and you'll boost. This becomes addictive, and it's the reason I keep coming back. Once you get good at drifting, the game changes. It becomes a wild multitask blast from the past. Your mind goes on overdrive as you plan perfect drifts while managing items, watching for NPCs, and avoiding opponents. It's pure wild fun. It combines the fantasy of gaming with a string of realism from actual racing games. I love it. It's how speedrunners blast through courses. With a little practice, you can too. Drifting isn't meant to be hard. The developers want you to drift. They want you to be good at it. For the sharpest turns, I recommend just hopping and turning. You won't get a boost, but you'll be right where you need to be. Let's get into controversy. People complain about items. In a race, the worse you're doing, the better items you get. You have to understand, Nintendo has never been supportive of hardcore competition. It's why they don't support Melee in esports. Nintendo wants all players, new or expert, to have a fair chance, and for each game to be a white-knuckle biter to the very end. There are pros and cons. Hardcore gamers are notoriously toxic. If you watch Emp Lemon's video on Melee and the famous player Hungrybox, you'll see why Nintendo doesn't support this. I love Hungrybox, and pretty much anything Emp Lemon does, so check him out. So for Mario Kart 64, if you're in first, you get bananas or green shells. If you're in the middle, like fourth or third, you get red shells. And if you're in last, oh boy. Last place gets stars, spiked shells, lightning bolts, triple reds. Last place can be a fun place to be. And it really makes winning feel like an accomplishment. The system keeps you from rage quitting. If you mess up and get far behind, there's a good chance you'll still win. It feels good getting knocked off the map, grabbing a star, blasting players, and still snagging top 3. This is one reason I like playing with Luigi. I don't mean to brag, but playing Mario Kart 64 all these years, I've gotten kind of good. You can only raise the difficulty so much, but you can handicap yourself by playing as bad characters. To try this, I recommend Luigi. He's useless. So playing at your best will make for some close competition. Speaking of which, difficulty is interesting how it's presented in the game, but I'm saving that for the end. Another complaint I hear is shortcuts. I've heard people say this game is broken because of all the unintentional shortcuts, but I disagree. Intentional or not, every shortcut takes practice. Taking a chance on a shortcut might put you miles ahead or miles behind. Definitely practice time trials before showing off on Twitch. Speaking of Twitch, take a lot of what speedrunners say with a grain of salt. These are people who have played for years. They're gaming gods. They make everything look easy. It's not. Last, I'm talking about difficulty. 50cc is easy peasy. 100cc is almost the same. 150cc makes computer drivers insanely fast, and they got sniper precision banana throws. In the SNES version, you had to unlock 150cc, but on 64, everything's laid out for you. And that begs the question, is Mario Kart 64 just a party game with no unlockables? Are the gold trophies and time trials just cosmetic with no in-game value? I gotta admit, for the first 8 years I played this game, I thought so. But the answer is a resounding no. If you're playing Mario Kart as a party game, take a break and get gold in all Grand Prix. When you do, you unlock extra. And let me tell you, extra is awesome. Basically, it flips every track into Mirror World. Every track gets reversed and it's worth it. Most notable is Toad's Turnpike. In the regular level, cars and trucks drive the same way as you. But in the extra level, the cars and trucks are flying at you. It's hard. You need complete focus. I don't think I've ever made it without crashing at least once. My advice is take wide turns and don't worry about drifting. And that's Mario Kart 64. There's other modes too, like Battle, but you need friends to play. I don't have those luxuries. To play the game, you either need an N64 or a Wii U. You can't buy it on Switch, and that's too bad. Mario Kart 64 is a nostalgic game that critics just don't understand. It's got 95% player satisfaction, but 8 out of 10 on Nintendo Life. I don't like that. Critics have ruined Nintendo. They demand constant innovations when they should just shut up and let artists work. But who am I to judge? I don't have friends. I can't recommend Mario Kart 64 enough. Find a way and play. Every race feels satisfying with or without friends. It boots up fast and you can rock 4 races in 15 to 20 minutes. Anyway, that's all for now. I'm still deciding what to play next and I'm taking recommendations. I'm kind of at a cross between Conquer and Diddy Kong Racing, but I'll probably go with Sheep Raider. If I can get my PC built in time, I'll start doing current games. But first I gotta get a better job. Thanks everyone, and don't forget to keep your green shells as shields. Man, I need a girlfriend.